This is the Inner Standing Spirituality Show, and my name is Aloise Surfley Middleton. I'm your host. I'm the creator of the Dharma Life Academy and the host of the Dharma Life podcast. And each week, I have the pleasure of doing this show with my resident guest, the gorgeous Josh X. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Who's just been rubbing it in about the weather. Living down there in sunny Portugal, and the wonderful truth speaker, truth teller, Charlie Freak. How are you, Charlie?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for both of you being here. This is always wonderful. I love Mondays.
So as you guys know, the Inner Standing Spirituality Show is your show. This is all about us simplifying spirituality for you. These guys answering your burning questions. Please send your questions in. Please email me support@aloise.life for the questions that you've got. We've got some guys coming on the show. We've got 3 people coming on the show tonight. We are also going to look at the 7 stages of alchemy. So alchemy is the process of turning lead into gold, and spiritual alchemy is all about looking at the gold within. So we're going to go back, we're going to loop back round. We started doing that in the first show and we got a bit sidetracked last week, but we're going to look at stages 1, 2, and 3. And obviously the reason we want to do this is we want to live a life of purpose, and we want to free ourselves from our core wounds, and we want to basically become the person that we're supposed to be. And the 7th stage of alchemy gives us a really, really beautiful outline for what that looks like. But before we do that, I'm going to ask the incredible Charlie Freak, it's pretty interesting times out there, Charlie. So I'd love, before we kind of get into the questions and get into obviously the 7th stage of the alchemy, I would love you to just to kind of give us a sort of temperature check. What's happening out there in the world? Obviously, everyone's on the tender hooks, on the edge of their seat. We're waiting to see what happens with this election. Kind of what insights and wonderful words of wisdom do you have for us tonight?
I did a live show yesterday, the day before, about 30 hours ago, whenever that was. So if you've got the desire for more information regarding this, all you have to do is just go to Freak Sense TV and you'll see it. It's the most recent of all the shows there, and it'll address everything. But suffice to say, everything is going to plan. And what is really, really important for everyone to be aware of is that this is the culmination. Ultimately, this is the ultimate piece to the puzzle that has been in motion for a long time. The Q plan is far, far, far beyond just Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy Jr. It even goes beyond John F. Kennedy. There has been a movement that has been afoot for a long time to take down these Canaanites, Hivites, those that choose to live out of the left hemisphere of their brain. So this plan is ancient, and it is connected to the Creator. So the other aspect of all of this, and I've been sharing symbolism and numerology virtually, 3, 4, 5 times every single day to show everyone how the coincidences are overwhelming, tying our wonderful president of the world to passages of the Bible. And so it's miraculous, and it is beautiful, and the plan is in place, and it is an amazing plan, because ultimately when I say, Colleen and I share to trust the plan, you're trusting in God's plan. And I cannot stress this enough, that the beautiful people that are making up what we call the Q team are essentially agents of God. And so this is a godly plan, and it can't fail, and it won't lose. There's no losing in the Creator of creation. And all you have to do is just find yourself on the right side of all of this. And every single moment is what Josh and I teach all the time, and that is righteousness, the path of righteousness. And so this plan is in place, and we just need to let it play out. But what I want to just make so clear, everything is going beautifully. There are no hiccups at all. Amy Coney Barrett was hurried through this process. She was ratified, certified as part of the Supreme Court prior to all of this coming out. It gives all of us, because we're all on this team with President Trump and God, we're all in this together. So she is working for all of us now, and she gives us an overwhelming majority on the Supreme Court. And here's the key. The people who are deeply inured with the system, and we do not need to be making fun of these people because we've all been there. They truly believe that people like the Clintons have dedicated their lives trying to help others, and they identify themselves with a liberal philosophy and a Democratic Party philosophy, because they feel like these are people that care about others and are trying to make a difference in a big, ugly world. So we don't need to judge these people. What is important to note is that what's about to take place through the Supreme Court is so important, because these people who are deeply inured in the system, and the liberals and the Democrats, are so trusting and believing in the system that this is what we all require to exist, and it's a goodly system. It has its flaws for sure, but at least they're trying. They need to see this all dismantled at that level. So when the Supreme Court is now, that's why Trump had to lose. He hasn't lost, but that's why the appearance of him losing is so important, because if he had won, you can't go to the Supreme Court and make these allegations, charges against the Democrats and the big tech companies, because there's no harm, there's no foul, there's no court case. So that's why this perception of him losing had to occur, so that now he has this avenue to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, in a record time, within 3 days from November 3rd to the 6th, they responded. Justice Alito said, and sent a request to the Attorney General Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and said that you need to make these documents ready, available for these federal agents that are going to come in, and they're going to be doing a complete investigation into all of this. And just to let everybody know how deep the shenanigans go, there are not quite, but almost 1,000 people in Pennsylvania alone that were born either in the late 1700s or the early 1800s that voted on 11/3/2020. I'm not making this up. There's almost 1,000 people that were born in the late 1700s or 1800s that voted just a few days ago. Okay, so wow. and in most of these states, you now have counted votes that exceed the registered voters. Something's wrong at a very simple, fundamental level. Now, the thing is that what you're going to see, and this is the beauty of it, all laid out by the Supreme Court. So these people who have been inert in the system have to listen and have to take this seriously. That's why this is playing out this way. But when you see what they have been doing to cheat, it is going to blow everyone away. And then what you see, how the Q team has taken this so seriously and is prepared for this, and what they've done to catch them cheating is stunning. All of this is just kind of really elegant in elegance and its evil, and elegance and in the unmasking of it. It's really incredible stuff. So when you hear terms like hammer is the name of the computer that the Democrats, big tech, the cabal, were using to run this computer software called Dominium. See, where they all take the names that Josh and I talk about all the time, these key words, because they don't create, they just pervert God's creation. This is the dome. This is your firmament. This is dominion, heaven upon earth. Dominion is your head. And this Dominion software run through the Hammer computer is what was taking, through a back door, was taking huge blocks of votes in one person's favor and switching them in the middle of the night when no one was looking, with zeros and ones, to the other candidate. So when the the counting was halted in all these swing states on November 3rd at, say, or early in the morning of November 4th, then they went to work through a back door in the computer program, and they were flipping millions of votes that said moments earlier Trump, and they were flipping them to Biden. But you see, every time they do something, there's a signature somewhere. And they've been waiting for them to do this. They know about the hammer, and they know about Dominion, and they have had a recorder, and they have the receipt for everything. So when you hear this stuff, don't panic, don't worry, don't be alarmed, don't be.
Watermark, Charlie, because that's the other thing people are saying.
Yes, and yeah, and there's two watermarks. So they kind of just hinted that there was a visual physical watermark that, by the way, Trump ordered for the watermark on these new ballots to be a poppy red watermark, which poppies are associated with the blood of our children, and so that's why, because that has huge significance to this election. But that was not the only watermark. The key watermark to all these ballots is that they're watermarked with radioactive isotopes, and so that they can be measured and they can be tracked from beginning to end, where they are now, where they came from, and where they originated from. So there's a complete history to all of these ballots. And so it's going to show everything. But it's more than that. It's going to incriminate every single one who was participating along the way. And then this is the key. The reason I bring all of this up is this. It's so complicated, it's so complex what they're doing. It ties the Democratic Party with their key political figures, with big tech companies, with the mainstream media, with polling companies, with massive computer software companies, and how it all ties back to the top of their pyramid, and that's the cabal. It all ties back to Venice. It all ties back to the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the left brain.
So
it does.
Exposing all the layers of corruption, like from the bottom all the way back up to the top, is what you're saying.
Yep. And they've revealed it all because to pull this off at this kind of level requires this massive army of various aspects of organized society, and they're all tied together, and they're all coming down. And this is it. Remember this, and then we can get into the show. What is the biggest evil? What is the one thing that has divided us and kept us divided, and in this moment still divides us completely and does not make hope moving forward in the future that we can ever fix this or come together as mankind? It's the media. It's the mainstream media. The mainstream media is not what you think it is. It is not real. It has never been real. It has always been owned by private individuals. It has always cost money. As such, it's no longer truth, it's information, and information can be spun any way you want to. And if you're the few who need to control the many, then you must teach them, tell them lies. Because if they know the truth, then they will rise and they will eventually shine brightly, and then we won't need them. They have to have a world where we need them, and that occurs through lies. The mainstream media is not real. Your news has never been real. Walter Cronkite is not a good guy. He's a demon. Walt Disney from the Disney Corporation is one of the most demonic, sick pedophiles that has ever existed. Walt Disney does not make healthy, beautiful, dreamscape, fantastical, fantasia stories for children. It's designed to go in and to prepare children to be raped by adults. These are the worst people in the history of mankind, and these are the pinnacles of our organized society. Go ahead, Aloise.
Well, I was going to say, what can we be doing, Charlie? Because we're all in this together. You know, this isn't about them doing everything. What can our listeners be doing? How can we be keeping our vibrations high? What's our active role right at the moment?
By simply breathing. Most importantly, obviously, it's the food that you intake and it's the breaths that you take, because what is. All you have to do to help President Trump and the Q team is to be real, to be connected to the moment. Because as I said to you before, and I assure you, this is God's plan. God has never been more active than he is right now. On December 21st, every planet will be in perfect alignment with one another. And Jupiter, Father, Saturn, the Sun, have never been closer in the night sky. They've never been closer. And they're drawing every other planet into a perfect line on December 21st as we descend to the fall, the complete fall of man, which is down at the base of the torso. And that is, so there's, again, two vortices, there's two vortexes, there's two portals. And the portal, most people know the portal up and to the right here, which is the pineal gland, pineal portal to the metaphysical realm. But down at the base of the torso, there's the feminine vagina, which enters into the room, which is the womb. This is the womb of the birth. And that's why on Christ Mass, we celebrate the birth of mankind, because we are in the physical material plane and we are entering into the other very, very special portal, which is the womb of the sacred feminine. And there, incubating in an incubator, is this cube that will become the dodecahedron and will eventually flower into the tree of life within us, and eventually will illuminate all, and we will see all. So all you have to do is relax, breathe, trust in the plan, because the plan is not just the Q team. It's not just President Trump. It's God's plan. And that's all you have to do. Trust in God. I'm not ever going to ask you to trust in myself. I'm just a servant of the Creator. At least I've done the work to turn myself into crystal that can be filled with light, but it's His light. That's the light.
And our job is going to be there, isn't it? To be there for other people as they start to wake up to this, because, we're awake to it. We know what's happening. And, the tendency is that we're going to, at the moment, it's difficult out there, isn't it? Because there's all this stuff, people celebrating Kamala Harris being the first, the woman, celebrating the woman, being in office. And of course, it's all disjointed and distorted. And we are going to need to be there for those people as they wake up to this truth, although the tendency is going to want to be like, we told you and you didn't listen to us. But actually, this is a spiritual test for us about being of unity consciousness and being supportive and loving and welcoming them into the realizations that we are free, and we can change this world together.
Yeah, Josh, do you want to speak to that too, brother? Because
I think the most dangerous thing that we have against us is the unconscious mind. And to become conscious, God works through us all in mysterious ways, and the devil works through us in the unconscious mind. So if we are unconscious to things, there is a system that's been put in place that allows the evolution of man and the de-evolution of man in this symbiotic relationship together. So the most important thing mankind can really do, from my perception, is to become self-aware, to be aware of the self, to become conscious of life, to stop going with the status quo, because the status quo leads you through the wide gate, and that wide gate leads to destruction. This is the chaos, and we must create order from what we perceive. And when we perceive the truth, we can grow our awareness and become conscious. So, as this new age is happening and the vibration of this earth is changing, because this all happens in cycles, the ones that are still unconscious will need a new steady, slow paradigm to evolve consciously into. So we can all, who are in awareness, disconnect from what's going on externally and know we're headed to the better world because we perceive the truth. The illusion or the delusion of man, of the unconscious, still will be moving forward into a more free energy, to a more peaceful, to a more less business work orientated, computer generated system that will alleviate them from most stress, but they'll also be trapped with technology that their consciousness will get trapped into. But it will eventually allow them to have a more peaceful nature, and our being and our resonance will be separate from these smart cities and the intelligence of system computers, and we'll be using the intelligence of the earth. So the best thing one can do is to sit back, enjoy the ride. Do not let your left brain thoughts, demons get involved. Just to bring peace upon your family and in your heart. You have the time away from work now. The system is falling and you don't need to fall with it. Fear not. You know, you're in the hands of evolution here, and it's all doing what it should be doing. So don't bring fear into it. Alleviate yourself now, because all you need to do is sit back and watch and love, love, love. And it's that simple.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really good advice. Like, I'll be the first to, I was saying to Charlie before we came on, I had a wobble this week, you know, and when I got myself out in nature, I reconnected, I kind of went back into myself. I was like, no, I feel good. It's all good. It's all happening divinely. It's all happening perfectly. And that is our job. You know, it is to trust the process and just know that God has a plan for us, and really to observe and not react to what is happening. And it is difficult because obviously all of us, you know, whenever we've woken up, we've woken up. So, you know, we've got a lot of people who are our friends, our family, who aren't, who maybe are now, you know, kind of gloating around the fact that Biden potentially, you know, has been announced as the presidential winner. So it's a real test for us at the moment to really practice what we preach and come back to ourselves, and really to be stable, secure, observing, not reacting, and really trusting the process. So lots of spiritual growth is happening in this moment, I would say.
Exactly. And fear not of these forced vaccines and these school systems. Again, that people who are conscious enough, they're going to see that they need to take their children out of these schools. And it's going to separate people in that sense from truly being divine and having to evolve more in a system. So even though they tell you these vaccines are going to be forced, these vaccines are mandatory, the truth is you will have to give your consent. So don't fear about things like this. I know there's a lot of people worried that they will have to take these vaccines, but they'll be for the new commercial realm and for commerce and for school systems that are going to teach children a separate way from what's natural. So never fear. You don't have to consent to anything. You are free, and don't let these fears affect your day, because you're here and now, and it's never going to happen if you choose it not to.
Well,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Aloise.
But I was just really quickly going to say, you know, we're in lockdown in the UK, and we're already seeing like lots of people are just operating as normal. You know, it's fascinating for me to watch. It's almost like this kind of two worlds totally, because people are just getting on with it. You know, and there's, you know, whenever I talk to anybody who I would say is kind of, you know, in the normal world, there's no fear out there at all. People are just like, oh, I wish they'd just get on with it. You know, what are they doing? Those crazy government, they've lost the plot. So
it's different in every country. You see in Portugal and in Spain, everybody's so controlled out here. Their main diet is pharmaceuticals, meat and dairy, so they don't really have any idea of what's the truth out here. Everybody conforms, everybody listens. So again, every corporation has a different experiment going on with the mind, and it's beautiful to see really what's going on, and how, you know, when you step back from everything, there's just systematic programs that are just playing for awareness.
Exactly right, Josh. Exactly right. And one of the things that is definitely going to come out through all of this is the consequences of having a meat and dairy and animal-based diet, because it puts you into a state where you are not mankind. You are not you at all, and you will never be able to connect with you ever. Not ever will you ever be able to connect and find who you are if you're participating in the system of murder to these animals. You won't.
Yeah, you may think that you do, but I can assure you that you don't. You're so separate from source. You are a predator, and this is not in this current time of evolution. So you will stay back in that sort of time, and it won't serve you any way, shape or form.
What
It's
does that
very
mean,
silly.
Josh? A predator?
A predator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So predators are predators, and they were here through previous times, allowed here for the illusion of man to feel like, you know, animals eat meat or these eat meat, and we were hunters, etc. But again, you know, there'd be nothing more simpler than to plant a seed, and you wouldn't need to catch animals. And people who primarily eat meat, if you look at the evolution of tribes, unfortunately, the mothers and fathers of these wonderful tribes
Exactly.
were culled, but their life expectancy is an average of 40 years of age. So they only eat meat, and they don't know any better because they were the children left to grow up themselves,
That's
scavenging and
right.
hunting. You know, you look at the indigenous igloo families, and they live till 30 to 40 as well. So if anybody thinks that a carnivore diet is going to serve them, unfortunately, they're going to find out via the pain body that it doesn't happen that way, and they're going to express very sick and disease very soon. They won't live a long life. I know, dog, and you're better being vegan and plant-based.
That's funny. My lot heard your lot, Charlie. So
Yeah, yeah. So let me throw this in, because I actually brought it into the podcast that I did the other night, because we always have to make things holistic, tie both worlds together. So and of course Josh knows this perfectly. Soul, 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 soul. It's all about the soul, because God is the God of the living, not of the dead. And to be alive is to connect with your soul. Your physical form is a vessel. It is a chalice. It is the cup of Christ. You are the cup of Christ. And God is the God of the living, not of the dead. So when you live in fear, you're not living. If you simply look at your body always does one of two things until we achieve homeostasis balance. Your body's always doing one of two things. It's either living or it's dying. And when you're in the state of fear, which is your left brain, then you're dying. You're always dying, and you will look around you, and you will just see death everywhere. And by the way, so when everybody says, "Well, Charlie, you know, no, we can't live forever," and no, people don't live for thousands of years. I do look around, and all I see are people dying at 60. You know, it's lucky these days, 70, maybe 80, kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is, all you're looking at are terrified individuals. And the reason is because they inflict terror from the moment you're born in every single aspect of organized society. It's all they teach is terror and doubt. So it's taking the mother and the father away from you. So it's all about soul, because soul is consciousness, and consciousness is awareness, and awareness is the death of the subconscious mind that Josh said, which is the devil, because that's the left hemisphere of the brain, because that has no contact to the third ventricle, has no access to the right hemisphere. It is alone. It is a dime. It is a 10% dime brain. It is an electrical circuit, and it is the paddle wheel of thumping. It's not the catfish a jumping. It's the paddle wheel of thumping on the Mississippi. Mississippi. How many ISISes do you hear and see in Mississippi? Do, do. Why does it start with M? Because it's all about the mother. Why is Aloise and Al Pasoni and Jen McCarty and Magenta Pixie and all of our incredible friends that we have within the truth community, all of these incredible women are leading the way. And they're the ones that are embracing President Trump and losing subscribership because they're embracing President Trump, and they are teaching about the children that have gone missing. And it's all about the children. It's children first. And because this is all about the Kundalini rising. This is all about the sacred feminine rising. We've locked her down forever and a day through these demons of the penis, and now it's time for the womb. It is the portal of the vagina to the womb, and then we rise. And remember, as Nikola Tesla said, we are the byproduct of dielectricity, which is stillness, perfect balance, stillness, silence, no movement whatsoever, and the mother, who is the scalar wave, which is the eternal 8, and she's in love with the father, and magnetism is constant motion, movement. So this movement constantly of the mother against the stationary father creates friction, And again, the definition of electricity is friction. What does electricity do? It's a downward causation. So why do we always fall? Why do we always find ourselves falling, allegorically and literally in life? We skin our knees. What do we always do? We have to get back up. We have to always get back up, because we're constantly falling. So how do we rise? It's only through the feminine. It's only through. Why did God make us 50% feminine and 50% masculine? It's because it's about the Ida and the Pingala, and that is the caduceus, and that is real medicine. And then they have to both end up here, locking eyes on one another in the real heart, the real home, the real essence of you. This is Kundalini rising. Do not laugh at these things when you hear people talk about this Yeshua Magdalene energy. It doesn't matter what you want to call it, but that is the story. That's the one story. That's your alphabet that Josh and I are writing. That this is that story from A to Z. It's the one story. So everything about our...
It's alchemy.
It's complete alchemy, because and by the way, the greatest creation within us is located right next to the mercy seat in our head. What is located right next to the sainted claustrum? The claustrum in our head is the most miraculous creation. Why do you think it is located at the back crown of your head, just to the right of the horizontal divide between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain? It's on the right hand side, and it's at the back crown, at the very back crown of your skull is the claustrum, which is right next to the mercy seat, which sits at the top of the chimney that runs down to the third ventricle of your brain. That's frickin' Santa Claus. That's Santa Claus, and he gives you, if you just allow him, he does nothing but give you presents every single day, except it's not ENTS, it is ENCE. It's presence, like as Josh said, it's in the moment. So let me finish with this. I said it's all about the soul. What is the sun in Latin? S-O-L. All right? And how are these physical chalices turned into an animated form that we are alive and we have these physical senses and we have this experience? Because we're bestowed soul. Right here in the seat of the soul, we are bestowed soul. Soul, S-O-U-L. And how do we rise to the soul? Through the feminine. Who's the feminine? It's the Mother Earth. How do you connect with your Mother Earth? You take your frickin' shoes off and you put the soles of your feet upon the Mother. S-O-L, S-O-U-L, S-O-L-E is the soul. And then you rise to the pineal, which is a representation of the sun, which is S-U-N, but it can also be represented by S-O-N. So do you see how freaking amazing all of this is and how it's all tied together? S-O-L to S-O-U-L to S-O-L-E to rise to the S-U-N, which is the S-O-N. And that's the whole purpose of life. Whether you're a man or you're a woman, that's everything. And that's alchemy. That's alchemy. And so this is what President Trump and these people are doing.
So that's what I would love to just go into, because it leads really nicely into what we wanted to talk about tonight, which is obviously the first 3 stages of alchemy. Because as Charlie was saying, it's the purpose of life. So spiritual alchemy is embracing the gold within and basically learning of our soul and its purpose. So the first 3 stages, can we just kind of break them down for people? So obviously we did talk about calcination back on the first show. But basically, this is the ego stage, isn't it? Where we break down parts of our ego and parts of ourselves that get in the way, essentially, of us and our natural state of being. So, Josh, can you kind of talk a little bit more about the calcination stage, and then we'll come on to dissolution, just to sort of break it down for people so they can sort of recognize it as they've either gone through it, I would imagine, if they've spiritually awoken. But a lot of people are having this stage at the moment, aren't they? Huge amounts of people on the planet.
Yeah, I think the first stage would be to recognize oneself as separate from the ego mind, and to be able to make one aware that these thought forms, these demons, have all been attached to this ego sense and it's trying to pull you away from the divine connection. Anytime one is expressing a self via thought, they're totally disconnected from source. Thought will take you off course, and the true sine wave to the ether is destruction of this ego. and the egoic mind. But I feel like the egoic mind is so vast that most beings don't really realize how deep it can go. And it's not a sense of, you know, you like to dress like this. This is one small element of the ego, but it really tries to dominate you until you've completely overcome every type of material aspect here on this plane. So I would say calcination is really truly, it's not true destruction of the ego, because I think the whole holistic side of this alchemy is pure destruction of the ego. But it is a first awareness of it and recognizing it and tackling the ego, and on a day-to-day basis being able to stimulate and be conscious of what's going on within your own physical processes, to be able to overcome the egoic mind and to continually move forward. And then I would say the dissolution side of it, which would be the next stage, is to be able to balance double S U L I at ion. So basically the dissolution is for you to merge yourself with the perception that you are one with this awareness.
Exactly.
And this is the true divine matrix of creation, to be able to breathe with life, to be able to sit in a meditative way, and to be able to totally merge with the aspect of awareness, to know that you are truly a breath, you are truly the stone, you are truly the tree. And when you can start to perceive life in this way, every single thing has consciousness. The plants, the trees, the birds, the bees, the stones, the saliva. And then when you get to this aspect, you can truly interact with every single thing in creation. A tree will blossom for you when you can truly express yourself honestly in this creation. There was one thing that I really just wanted to add when Charlie was saying the soul. And with language, you can't run from it when you can really truly see this wonderful cryptic language we have. But the word solution is giving you the truth. And the only solution is soul, you, at ion. So the solution is for you to become one with the soul. And you'll tie that in with ancient spirituality, always showing you a snake or a cobra. Now, people think snakes are evil. Snakes are not evil. You know, the cobra is spelt cobra because it's Ko-B-Ra. Now, this is to join the two suns, the black sun and the white sun. This is true consciousness. And everything there with language will set you free when you can truly understand the dimension of language. It is an expression of consciousness to free oneself without any other intermediate or involvement with anything. One can sit still and observe language and free themselves. It's wonderful. It truly is.
Wonderful. Charlie, do you want to add anything?
Incredible. On a recent show, I started with the Doobie Brothers song, Black Water. And I did two songs on the show. I did Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper. And notice how in the song, don't fear is in brackets. Brackets are your temples. Mm-hmm. So where is the realm of don't fear? It's within the temples, right? So you are Solomon's temple. These are the temples of Solomon's temple. Here should be a stamp that says don't fear. There's no fear here. So don't fear the reaper. Reaper is out there who comes for those naughty children. But you see, if you're blessed by Santa Claus with presents, then the reaper passes you over. This is Easter. That's why it's the beginning of every year. And you either get another notch on your belt or a ring around the tree, or you're left alone because you have the blood of the perfect lamb, Jesus Christ, the best man of the alchemical marriage, right? Because, you can't have a wedding without a witness. And the witness is the child, Jesus Christ, who leads the mother Mary up the aisle, right? Why do we say that? Why do we say that? Why is that the tradition in a marriage, in a wedding, when we're getting married? The best man leads the bride up the aisle. It's level, right? It's the aisle is on the level, but we always express it up the aisle. And that's because it's alchemy. It's the alchemical marriage and the best man leads like I say, when Jesus came out of the tomb after 3 days in incubation, hibernation, who was the only person that was there? The only person that was there, Mary Magdalene. M&Ms. Oh, I love M&Ms. 13 and 13. 13 and 13. There's the right Mary, and there's the left Mary and the right Mary. There's the red shift Mary and the blue shift Mary. There's the moon goddess of sin Mary, and then there's the pure virgin mother Mary. You know, there's a duality, a polarity to the duality of everything that exists with us. And we always have that choice. And that's why Mary is 13. So with the Doobie Brothers Black Water on the Mississippi River, it's all about these two Marys, and it's about this journey of the narrator of the song. So what's the opening verse of the song? It's, well, I built me a raft and she's ready for float. Oh, Mississippi, she's calling my name. Catfish are jumping, that paddle wheel thumping, black water keep rolling on by just the same. So the black water that rolls on by just the same is black because it has no judgment. That is life. Life will always flow because we are eternal beings and life is eternal. Creation is eternal. And it is black because it sans judgment. It's not judging one way or the other. You have the catfish jumping on the right, trying to get to heaven, or you have the paddle wheel thumping on the left hemisphere to the left. It's your choice. Oh, black water, keep on rolling. Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on? Oh, black water. And the whole song is about this journey of this child who built me a raft. What's the raft? The chrism oil. Where does the chrism oil come from? Santa Claus, milk and honey, Santa Claus. And that's the raft. Well, I built me a raft and she's ready for flow. And that's what you do. You got to go up the aisle. And the only way we can go up the aisle is with Mary, and that makes us the best man. And then the best man is the witness of the alchemical marriage between the mother and the father. And it's just freaking beautiful. It's unbelievable. And to deny ourselves access to this story, to deny ourselves access to what's going on inside of us 13 times a year is insanity. It's absolutely insanity. And why don't we connect with this? Because the out there world, which I call the Luciferian agenda, is designed to make you busy. That's why, like Josh teaches, what is economics and the system of the flow of money? Money is the world. The flow of the river is the earth. Josh said at the beginning of his explanation of calcination that it's all about the division between these two worlds. The earth is what's real. The world is the delusion. And the world is the left brain ego. And you are consciousness, which is the catfish jumping up and to the right. And if we're taught that from birth, none of us would struggle with this. And none of us would fall into these traps so easily. But we're not. We're not.
We would just have our ego to deal with, you know, we would have the thought realm and that would be it. We would be having special teachings from people that were wise, and it would be a wonderful journey to be able to experience the duality of the mind.
Yeah. It's one of the first things we talk about in Dharma, which is, you know, your ego is designed to keep you safe. Your ego wants to be right, you know, and if you can recognize that, you can step out of it. But of course, none of us have been taught to recognize it, you know, so we don't know, none of us have that concept. So we go through life always wanting to be right, basically. And if you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? So calcination, dissolution. So calcination is obviously the awareness, starting to become aware of this ego and starting to break it down. Dissolution is essentially, we've just been talking about it. So it's kind of then having an awareness of how this might be, I suppose, getting in your way, and starting to actually become aware of how our ego might be influencing us, and actually for the negative. And then let's talk about separation. So that's where we start to sort of feel, because most of us have been taught not to feel. You know, it's like, since you're a kid, stop crying, don't feel. Like, that was me, that was my British upbringing, you know, don't express emotion. And of course what happens is, as we go through this process, we suddenly start to get reconnected with our emotions, and it can be scary, I think, for people. So Josh, do you want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit more?
So even the word, separation is to separate from this physical body. So true separation is a full merge with, true consciousness, and to be able to have this divine just flow through you. So you truly are awareness and consciousness with that, separate from the illusion or the delusion that you are a physical body, and the spiritual side of you is now taken over, and you're actually talking from true source awareness. So there's non-thought, there's non-judgment in every step and everything that you walk. So true separation is having an inner integrated function that is your day-to-day routine with non-thought, non-judgment, and there's nothing physical aspects from running from this ego. So it's a separation from the ego mind. And the disillusion would be having that awareness brought to you from merging with this true awareness in and out, and almost at this separate source. It's this, every stage of alchemy really is holistic. And there's kind of the initial stages with this alchemy that you need to recognize the aspects of each individual one. But the journey is not really steps. Each 7 kind of merge with each other. So it's a continual practice. So the ultimate source, the true separation is merging with the awareness, the Godhead. This is all magic has ever been teaching. This is all, the teachings of Aleister Crowley, all the demonic ways. It's all to do with this Godhead and true merging with this source that everybody has the capability to do. Every single being has the capability to do, but perceptions are so vast and so different that one has to seek and find their own way to the understanding of what we're speaking of right now. But simplifying it is what we're doing here tonight, hopefully. How would they do it? I suppose that's a good thing to say. How would somebody find this separation, hey? So they can have instructions, maybe.
Yeah, well, again, this is a type of exactly what the work we do in the Dharma Life Academy. We start to be able to recognize, what is conditioning, what is societal conditioning that we've taken on, that it isn't ours, and we can, all of us are kind of going through that at the moment, because obviously we've been so programmed to be a certain way and that we're not good enough, and then you start to become aware that actually that's just a program running that society has been pumped into society, that we're all not good enough. And you start to be able to see your authentic feelings and your really what belongs to you, rather than what's been kind of superimposed on you almost.
Everything's a feeling, I would say, when you get past all. It's all intuition, it's all feelings, and I'd say they're very separate from emotion. It's a strong resonance in your geometry or the field that you have. So you really do remove these emotions that are controlled by thought, fear, and all these types of things, anxiety, depression, and not a part of your existence. And to walk with this non-thought, non-judgment is a very special thing. It is pure bliss, pure peace, and life really interacts with you on such a level, and the plants, the animals, it's so different, and you can't express it.
We start to feel our soul, don't we? We feel our soul, our higher self is guiding us, and that's where it becomes magical and beautiful, because like you said, you have that trust, because you always know that you're going to have the right answer in the moment, or the right person's going to turn up at the time that you need, because you're in your flow, basically.
Many people that we help, and I get to speak to them on a daily basis, of people that have truly just taken these plants into consideration, and they're doing what they should be doing in a holistic way. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks for most people who I help to feel or experience intuition and clairvoyance, and then they just start to have this connection within themselves, and I go through processes where I'm asking them exactly how they're observing the world and seeing how they're finding interactions. And I'd say like 90% of people that truly take on the work within sort of 6 to 8 weeks truly have this intuition, just start to be able to feed through their avatar. And it's really amazing, it's so key, food, to connect with this awareness, and then to be able to actively visualize and see what's happening within your being to bring forth this new perception. And it will take practice, it will take time. If people sit in meditation and absolute solace and solitary confinement, they will find it an average of 5 days, their whole system will just give themselves nirvana as such, where it just means blown out. So their whole Kundalini system will rise, their awareness, they become one with source, and it's just by being still and silent. And the egoic mind doesn't like silence. It likes to keep itself preoccupied with busyness, because when these thoughts start coming, they're kind of uncomfortable, and food takes them away gradually. And in a matter of like 5 to 6 weeks, the mind will quiet down with just the right type of food.
Wow. So basically, sorry, you're saying we clean up our diet, we clean up our connection.
Huge information, and you're carrying information from everything around the world. Obviously, meat and dairy and these things carry lots of heavy information with heavy emotion, heavy feeling, heavy chemicals, and not chemicals made by man as such, chemicals made by the bodies of these cows. These cows are giving you stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and to be able to deal with these adrenaline and cortisol every day is an up and down cycle, and people wonder why their psyche is not in balance and why they can't function on a day-to-day basis without feeling stress. But people then don't have the belief inside of them or the knowingness to be able to even have perception that these chemicals go into their body and create their true they become through their meals, which is, the words tell them.
So that leads me really nicely into a question we got sent in. We're going to have a couple of people come on the show in about 10 minutes, but one of the questions I got, which I thought was a brilliant question actually, because it's something I would love to know as well, but can you ask Josh, please, about eating raw through the winter in cold climates, especially since fruits are not naturally available in the UK in the winter? He always talks about eating raw, not cooked. I would love to know his definition of cooked. Does cooked mean like cooking with oil in a frying pan? So let's break that down. So the first bit of the question is how, I'm living in the UK, how do I eat raw when it's colder?
I'd say, first of all, we need to try to disconnect from thought and eat intuitively. And with food, it needs to be a part of our whole experience as well. So we need to holistically understand that we're becoming what we're eating. So it is key to function our awareness on the food until we've broken the unconscious behavior of the system. But for example, I'd say cooking as a definition is to heat food past 60 degrees. And then it denatures it, takes the digestive enzymes away, and now the body has to make the digestive enzymes, which causes lethargy in the system. But again, when you're heating the food up, it also reduces the alkalinity and causes acidity. And the true definition in my whole, my awareness is that what's happening is the acidity is forming within the body because of how difficult it is for the digestion process to happen. So, foods are acid and alkaline. They're not really specific. It depends on how the system handles it. This is why fruit is key, and glucose is key, and juicing is key. But if somebody was to prepare a meal and they were to just, for example, they wanted to make a tomato soup, you would maybe blend, 12 tomatoes washed first with an avocado, red pepper. The avocados create the thickness because you'll have too watery otherwise. So the one avocado, obviously you're using more, try 2 avocados, put an apple in for sweetness and maybe a few dates with a nice teaspoon of black pepper and salt to your taste. If people are looking or searching for the same taste that they get in the Babylon world, and they use Himalayan salt, salt does take away water from the system. And you need to make sure that you drink enough or, hydrate yourself enough. But rather than the MSGs and this, the salt that people use, I've forgotten, table salt, use salt to create the flavors that you need at that time. And when your body's had enough of it, it'll tell you. But this blended up, put in a pan, and then warmed, till the temperature that you want to eat it. Now, the temperature you want to eat is probably 50 degrees and the food doesn't get denatured. But furthering that awareness, once you start to perceive more, you'll see that you're putting this food in a magnetic container, and this magnetic, the magnetic metals positively charge the food. And all food that you want to be consuming should contain a negative charge, because you're positively charged yourself. So the food, again, can be corrected with conscious awareness and, you know, your own hands and these wonderful perceptions that we have. It's a fact. But again, silver spoons were used for a reason, and they were left in our, you know, our language for a reason, you know, silver spoon fed, etc., from Victorian times. If you just ever eat with a silver spoon, or you stir the food with a silver spoon, you'll find out it can actually correct the charge to a negative charge, which can also balance the body. It's earthing. The body needs to be grounded, it needs to be earthed, it needs to have the negative charge to charge, because every battery needs the opposite charge to recharge.
Wow, that's amazing. So my grandmother's silver set that I've got that I use for best, I should be using every single day.
You should. And then the awareness can come within your entity, and you can see that when you use using a magnetic spoon, that there's this alchemical reaction happening where it's not serving you and it's not allowing yourself to reciprocate, and that way death happens, cell death, the pulling of prana from the body. And this stops the reciprocation, and this is why people aren't healing. This is why people are finding themselves to get older quicker. And again, what Charlie was saying earlier, people eating these foods. I have a lot of people saying, well, how come my grandma smoked and she ate meat and did this and she lived till she was 105? Well, she's not gone through the era of plastic foods and man-made substances. So if your nan can live on an acidic diet with smoking fags a day and get to 105, if one lived clean and reciprocated with the electromagnetic food, then one can live for a very, very long time. If you were poisoning yourself for 100 years, you can live 1,000 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's blown me away about the spoon. That's incredible.
New perception. New perception.
Yeah, and as soon as you said about the pan, I was like, oh my god, of course, I never even thought of that either.
That's why all copper pans are lined nowadays, because copper pans have that wonderful charge. If you can get your hands on true copper without the lining of lead or whatever they are using, and you don't use salt, it won't take away the nature of the pan. Then once it's out, you can just add your salt and things like that to the food. So copper pans keep that charge negative. You know, copper is a positively charged metal, but it negatively charged the magnetic field.
So the other question this lady asked, actually, sorry, I think this might be Alex who's going to come on the show, but I thought it was a great question. He was also saying about steaming. So can you use steamers to steam?
Steaming, as Charlie said last week, is the best type of way to heat the food. If we can start to try to utilize copper in a way where we can steam with water, which would be then distilled water via the steam copper, you're really not affecting the food too much. But that again is holistically the best way that you can cook your food with the steamer. But warming food, if you can get yourself on a high-speed blender, higher perception, you see that the blender has metal magnetic blades. So it's always good to bless your food or to correct the food with silverware, etc. But once you've blended this, you can warm it up, and you can put, 5 medjool dates, 1 apple, a nice green pepper to create the bitterness, 1 or 2 lemons, a coconut, blend that up with a mango inside. 2 teaspoons of black pepper instead of using chili, because chili's negative prana, is a nervous system stimulant. And that there, with a nice amount of salt, because it's better than going to a takeaway and it's better than eating cooked food, etc. Then that curry can be warmed up. You could steam yourself some mushrooms or put some peas in, just slightly heated with water, etc. Now you've got yourself a mushroom pea curry. You can make some carrot rice by putting in a food processor 5 peeled carrots, blend that up with some coriander. Once it's done, drop some lemon, some salt, and some cumin seeds whole, stir that together, and you've got yourself a curry. You can warm it if you wish, eat with a silver spoon, and you're going to be doing the optimum you can through the winter. Or stay really warm, get 10 jumpers on, and then have to drink cool stuff to keep your body temperature down.
You don't live in a barn in the middle of nowhere.
Don't leave the door open, no.
Fantastic tips though, Josh. Amazing, really useful, amazing. Thank you so much. And this is the type of thing you obviously do on your channel. You teach a lot more about how people can transition into this way of living, don't you?
Yeah, on a one-to-one basis, I think, because there's so many different levels of transition. And again, if someone's really overweight, you know, we have people up to 400 pounds overweight, and this is incredible, you know, like 40, 50 stone, and they've tried in their awareness to just go straight to juice fasting, doing these things, but they experience so much toxicity.
Of course.
And most people who are that big tend to just eat one meal a day. And they don't lose weight because they've got so much toxic waste on the body, because fat is not truly fat. It's toxins that accumulate. Fat cells just expand. They don't accumulate, they expand, and they take the toxicities within them. So it's pure toxic waste around the waist, and that's why waste is called waste, because it's waste. So what we would tend to do with somebody, for an example, who's extremely overweight, is to speed up their metabolic rate. By eating one meal a day, they're not actually speeding any of their rates up, and they're just flatlining. So I would tell someone in that position they need to eat 5 or 6 times a day, but they need to maintain potatoes, because potatoes keep the candida alive, but very small. So it doesn't thrive, it just stays alive. And then they don't have too much die-off. So as they throw in food into their furnace, the furnace burns hotter. Now their metabolic rate is speeded up. And once it's a slow transition from maybe 5, 6, sometimes 7 meals a day. And they're big meals, and people cannot believe that they're losing 5, 10 pounds in the first 5 days of increasing their food from 1 meal a day to 6 meals a day. And people who are really overweight and love eating will actually really enjoy this type of lifestyle. It's just a change, a small change, and you can really do great wonders with just having an understanding of how the body works. And then it's just time transitioning into this holistic way to juice fasting, and we can lose 250 pounds in 8 months. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic. So interesting. Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that. We're going to welcome Justin into the chat room now. Justin Carpenter, who I know you know, Charlie. He reached out wanting to say hello and ask you guys some questions. So we'll just welcome Justin. But hopefully let us know in the comments how you found that information, guys. Was that useful, what Josh just told you? I'm just blown away by the copper pans and the silver spoons. Really, really useful, really, really helpful. Justin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Good day, brother.
Hey guys. Nice to meet you, Josh.
Nice to meet you, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I'm doing wonderfully, doing really well. Yeah, just, I mean, such exciting times. It's so wonderful to have this wonderful group of people to ground with, because, you know, I've always kind of felt like an outlier, where I felt calm when things are kind of chaotic, and I never really knew why. But I know now, and it's for this time. It's for the here now, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I know you had loads of questions, but
I've got so many questions for these brilliant people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll kind of jump in. So I've loved Charlie's dissection of the sort of false light representation of the Holy Trinity, and breaking it down to that dude club, and bringing back in the Divine Mother into that beautiful triumvirate. So I kind of wanted to draw on, I guess, first just ask for the listeners to give kind of an overview of the Holy Trinity from that perspective. And then from a spiritual perspective, we're often taught the balance of the divine masculine and then the divine feminine within us, you know, internally. And I was curious, does that come into play with the divine child as well, you know, and how does that play out within the differences between male and females on this plane? Does everyone have a varied balance within that Trinity, or within the two of those? Is it split between male and female evenly at all times? So yeah, we'll just love for y'all to elaborate on that particular topic.
Charlie, I think that's for you, but I'd just like to say that when it comes down to this, just think of everything energetically rather than physically.
Yes.
and then it'll all come into play. But Brother Charlie, I'll let you take this one because I had a big talk then, so you take this one.
Yeah, what Josh just said again. This is why when you begin to really connect with the truth, you have the baptism of water even before you have the baptism of fire. When you have the baptism of water, this is this disillusion, because you begin to see not only that something's wrong, but that there's another way, and therefore you disconnect with the left and you begin to see the right. And the other way is the connecting to what already exists, what came before. That's like what I always share with everyone, is that where our wisdom comes from is from really, really connecting to these ancient cultures, because they all got it right. And that's because they didn't have technology. And isn't it funny how modern society and people like modern philosophers and modern science who look backwards in time, judge negatively those cultures that were absent of technology. Isn't that interesting? If they didn't have technology, they were less than us. And or they didn't have technology because, as Josh was teaching us earlier, that the technology supplants your consciousness, it supplants your soul, and you become zeros and ones instead of feelings. And what this is all about, it's more than a feeling, right? So again, all of these great Gnostic bands like Boston, Tom Schultz, and his #1 hit single, it's incredible when you begin to take a look at some of the most popular songs of all time, like we were talking, the Doobie Brothers, Blackwater, or Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper, or Boston's More Than a Feeling. Why do you think these songs get in you and last forever? Because they're teaching you, they're telling you, they're connecting you to the eternal truth. And that's that baptism of fire that comes after the baptism of the water. So what I'll do is I'll address your question, and I'll do it in such a way that ties in with everything that Josh was just saying about, cooking your food in the wintertime versus the summertime versus the springtime, because that's what we are. We're a fourfold nature. We are the 4 seasons, right? We're not one season. We don't go to school to become one season. We go to school. We should go to school to be taught the 4 seasons. And that school would therefore be the mother, because she's the master of the 4 seasons. And so to know all of this and tie in, the Holy Trinity is to know thyself. And so therefore we go right back to Santa Claus, the claustrum, and we go right back to the 3 wise men, we go right back to the 3rd ventricle of the brain, and the endocrine system, which is governed by these G-lands, which are glands. G-lands are God lands. The glands are God's direct connection to you. And who runs the glands? Santa Claus does. And they live next door to one another, and they're best friends in the entire world. It's freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. That's why Santa Claus plays such a massive role in our story. Because Santa Claus is gifting you this direct one-to-one connection with the Father. He can't do it because, again, let's go to that live God camera. We do it every show. We're with 3, 2, 1, and we're back into the God room. Thank you, God. We appreciate that so much. You rock, allowing us to come inside once a week. But that's what God is. And he can't break the meditation. He can't break the eternal now, or all of this falls apart. So that's why in all of these ancient scriptures and texts, there's always those that are asked to play a role. Donald Trump, 45. Cyrus, 45. The cleanser, the drainer of the swamp, the cleanser of the land. There are those that must come and play these righteous roles on behalf of the Father, because the Father is this. But you see, the mother is constant motion and movement. So how do we learn? We learn through the mother. Okay, so when we learn about ourselves, know thyself, don't deny thyself, know thyself, then what we learn is that the endocrine system is dominated by these glands, and that the 3 trinity of glands are all connected to the 3rd ventricle of the brain, and that is the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the hypothalamus. Pineal gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus. Okay, melatonin, serotonin, dopamine. That's the Holy Trinity. This is the Holy Trinity on every level: physical, metaphysical, theoretical. It's the Holy Trinity. It's what it's all about. And Josh is talking about with the food that we eat and what we're looking to be able to do, and people who weigh 400 pounds and they cannot control. And Josh is saying that, like the juxtaposition of eating 6 meals a day versus then just one massive meal a day, they'll actually lose weight. It doesn't seem like that would be the case, but it is. And so what's beginning to happen when Josh is talking about having these natural foods and these pure thoughts, and you begin to get clarity, the crystalness, the pineal gland changes from sand to a crystal, and you begin to change. This is clarity, and the clarity comes from the secretions within these three, the Holy Trinity: Father, Mother, and Child. So melatonin, which comes directly from the claustrum, and that is all new blood, corpuscles, everything that has to do with regeneration and the creation and the flow of oxygen, so the breath of life within every single cell within you, and that comes through the pineal gland and the claustrum, and you see that's the Father. And then the serotonin, which is the representation of the sacred feminine within you. Serotonin is known as the happiness secretion. We talked last week about this, the parable of Abram and Sarai becoming Abraham and Sarah when they crossed the desert and then went from Ur the Chaldees, which is the temple of sin, to the Holy Land, flowing with milk and honey. And then Sarah was given immaculate conception, and she was given child. And that child they called Itzhak in Hebrew, which is Isaac. And Itzhak in Hebrew means happiness. And serotonin, the secretion, is called the happiness secretion. So this is all part of this dielectricity, all part of this diabolical plan to heal us and to make us see. They lie to you. They switch the real meaning of these words around and take you away from your truth. So serotonin is the happiness secretion, balance. And then what does the child, you were saying, and does this connect to the divine child within all? Of course it does. Divine Father, Divine Mother, Divine Child. So what does the hypothalamus secrete? It secretes more than a feeling. It secretes the feeling. It secretes dopamine. And this is why the CIA in the 60s attached this term dope to all the drugs that were going around, in particular LSD, to give dopamine, which is that's natural secretion within you created by a meditation, a bad rap, a bad name. You don't want dope. Dope's bad. Dopamine is called, what is it known as? If serotonin is known as happiness secretion, dopamine is known as the feel-good secretion. So the Father gives you life, melatonin, okay? Meliss, melita, honey, sweetness, which is a preservative. Your life is preserved through melatonin. That's long life. That's eternal life. If you produce copious amounts of melatonin, that's the pineal gland. That's the Father of the Trinity. The Mother, the milk of Mary, she's giving us serotonin. Serotonin is known as the happy, and it's all in charge of your circadian rhythms. And remember, your circadian rhythms are so much more than just your day clock, night clock thing. That's all they teach you about circadian rhythms. You have a circadian rhythm for every single day of the year and every single day of the week. And by the way, again, like we said before, that's why Saturdays are turned into chaos days for us in society. And Sundays, you're supposed to still and silence yourself, go to church. What the? Sunday is the first day of the week. Sun is rising. Sun is an electrical energy. So you have massive secretions. Your circadian rhythm on a Sunday is designed to get you going, because you got to get all your work done in 6 days so that you're ready for the 7th day, which is the sabbatical, the Sabbath, or the 7th day, which is the Saturnal day, Saturn day, Saturday. But Saturday is the day where we freaking go crazy because the kids have to go to hockey and soccer and football, and I have to go to Costco and buy all of this meat, dairy, and eggs that's going to kill me, and I got to somehow get to the bank, and I got to sign this, and we're entertaining friends tonight, so I got to make all of this fake food from Costco and put it in the oven and warm it up, and then they're going to come over, we're going to drink wine, which is just, you know, pure candida, and we're all going to die. So that's the nature of things. So Saturday, your circadian rhythm is telling you to be still and quiet. You don't have adrenaline flowing through your system on Saturday, and they've got us running around like crazed animals on a Saturday. Sunday, we're just like jumping. Your kids can never stay quiet in a church on a Sunday, can they? And we get angry at them. Why? Because it's Sunday. Circadian rhythms in your body are releasing massive amounts of hormones and adrenaline for them to be up and doing, and because you got to get shit done in 6 days, because on the 7th day you have to have a sabbatical. We got it all backwards. Saturday is the Sabbath day. We got it all backwards. So the Holy Trinity is designed to heal you in every moment. And here's the thing that's incredible, Justin. You don't need to know any of this. Everything that I told you, you can learn this, and it's fantastic, and it just fills you with light, and it's incredible. But you don't have to know any of it. Just stop ingesting poison. Like Josh said, if your grandmother who smoked and she, you know, cheese, and she ate meat every single day, she lived for 104 years. How long would she have lived if she wasn't doing those things? Right? So suddenly it's that now Charlie says it's 1,000 years when you come out of the womb. 1,000 years guaranteed when you come out. Your teeth are good for at least 1,000 years you come out of the womb. What are you doing pouring battery acid on them and going to sleep with battery acid all over your teeth? And then you get a cavity, which is a little depression in your teeth because you put battery acid on your teeth. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. God is the God of the living, not of the dead. It is my focus for today. God is the God of the living. Be alive. And to be alive, you have to eat green food. Green food, which is the middle way that the Buddha taught. By the way, and the middle way, therefore, would be the dialectrical way. It would be the diabolical way. Okay? And that's right. And so it's also freaking common. And the other thing is, again, folks, listen, you don't even have to know this stuff. You don't need to know all of this stuff. Just know it's inside of you, and it's doing its job always when you stop polluting it. When you stop polluting you allow Santa Claus to do everything he did. For those of you who have read The Lord of the Rings and love The Lord of the Rings the way that I do, think of Santa Claus as Tom Bombadil. That's what Tom Bombadil represented to Professor Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings in the Old Forest. That's what he was doing. He's the master of the endocrine system. That's what the Old Forest is. It's sort of like your endocrine system. And that's what Tom did every day. He just went from here, and a drop there, and 2 drops here, and half a drop there. And that's what he was doing. Tom Bombadil is Santa Claus. Get out of Santa Claus's way. When you eat acidic foods, you turn him into a first responder at the destruction of 9/11. Okay? And when you take acidity away, you allow him to be Tom Bombadil in the Old Forest, providing healing, and you'll live forever if you just get out of your own bloody way. And so you see how I explain that? That's the Holy Trinity. Father, melatonin, life. Mother, serotonin, happiness, which is balance. And then the divine child, dopamine, the feel-good secretion. So you're contented. You don't snack. You don't cheat. You don't do any of those things because you're contented. You're happy. You're contented, and you're preserved. Honey is the preservation. You're preserved. You're happy. You feel good. You don't cheat on cheesies and Cheetos, and there's no desire to do those things because you're already contented inside of you. And what did you have to do? Just stop poisoning yourself. It does the rest. Sorry, guys, but wow.
There we go. And the true alchemy is having control over these 3 secretions at will.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so much gratitude, Phil. So much.
Thank you, Justin. I hope that helped.
Thank you. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for
much love to y'all.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you for coming on.
Love you, Justin.
So we've now got Marie joining us. Amazing. Thank you, Charlie. Fantastic explanation. Really, really, really good. Really, really good. Thank you.
This is for Josh. This is a miracle. Marie is a miracle. She's brilliant too.
Hey, Marie.
Wow. Wow. Is it real?
There she is. Hello, darling.
It's real.
Good day. How are you?
Oh my God. I'm so excited. Hi, Josh.
How
Hi,
are
Charlie.
you?
Hi, Aloise, you beautiful humans. Oh my God. Wow.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm tripping out. Wow.
Feel
Me
free,
too.
Marie. Yeah, like we'd love to hear about your story, your journey. Obviously, I heard a little bit of it on the election night, but you sound like you've been on an incredible journey, and obviously Josh and Charlie have been big influences on it. So I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for all you do, all of you. I'm so excited to be here. You guys know already, I'm healing from breast cancer, and I found out 2.5 years ago. I knew something was off, and basically I turned away from the conventional options that were being presented. And my husband and I and my 2 small children have just been on this journey since, really looking for ways to heal this on an energetic from an energetic place, from a physical place, from a spiritual place. Like I knew it was like, even if we just, cut off a part of my body, that seemed very extreme to heal what I knew was something much more causal and much deeper. And so I've always learned in my cancer journey, and I'm so excited to hear more about this, just around this alkalinity. I went to a clinic in Tijuana. So I also live in Mexico. I live in Puerto Escondido in the state of Oaxaca, which is known for its heart. So anyone is welcome here. We have lots of big, big hearts and great cacao. But anyway, I'm really curious about alkalinity. And in the clinic I went to in Tijuana, they had us on like an alkaline diet, but it still included animal products. And they really wanted to limit our fruit intake. They also included all sorts of like kind of cool technologies like the Rife machine and sonodynamic therapies and all sorts of really cool stuff. But the diet piece has been huge because I've always understood since I was young, and I grew up Lebanese. So I also kind of want to weave this in with the Phoenicia bit, Charlie, if you can kind of help me with that, because I grew up in a restaurant family. So like I found out in my early 20s from an Ayurvedic practitioner that she said to me once, everything you're eating is bad for you. And I was like, what do you mean everything I'm eating is bad for me? Like this is how my mother makes peas and rice. Like there's half a pound of butter in here, a ton of olive oil, there's lamb, there's a lot of spices. This is what we eat. Like I don't know, but I always have dealt with bloating since I was a little child. I always knew I felt better on fruit. And then I went to Tijuana, and then it was, limiting fruit and just craving it in the night. Like I would wake up in the middle of the night and like be looking for fruit. It was just crazy. But basically when I heard this whole frugivore thing, I just knew it. I just knew in a split second it was 100% true. And it was like four weeks now that we've been really, really consistent. Look, I'm drinking my orange juice. And I'm like totally feeling amazing. Like you guys, I'm so grateful. It's not been perfect the whole time. I also want to talk about detox a little bit if we can. It's not always been pretty, but I just know that this transition and really focusing and allowing myself to really fill up on the sweetness of life from the fruits of the earth is healing on all of the levels that I've been looking for. So on an energetic plane, on a spiritual plane, absolutely physically, things are changing. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my wrap. I hope that made sense and there's something for you to take and riff on. But
That's amazing. Well done. And this is 4 weeks so far that you've been embracing fruit juicing and raw, etc. Yeah.
See, the thing, Josh, is I've always juiced. I've always done green juice. I got really deep in the celery juice thing, but I always stayed away from orange juice. I stayed away from too much fruit, but I thought that green juices were like, that. And so I would stick like really fasting most of the day doing green juices. And then in the evening, afternoon, maybe having a big salad, but then I would also add like a lentil burger or something to it. And so I'm learning how to take all of that out as well and just really focus raw. But yeah, it's been about 4 weeks. I've had a few slip ups, and I said in the election that I've been physically ill, like sick from food. My body just like not wanting it inside.
They can feel the poison as soon as you ingest it. Hey, you become more sensitive, more receptive to everything. And this is the scary thing with a lot of practitioners and a lot of, well, first of all, it's a practice, and practicing means you're not there. But this the alkalinity side of things is quite scary, because people don't know exactly what the alkaline means, and they're testing the actual nature of these things that are growing externally to us. But like I said earlier on this show, is alkalinity is how the body is able to break this down and use it as a fuel. Our primary function is glucose, and you're not really going to find much glucose in kale. You know, we got a big industry pushing things for the vegan as B12 and the omega-3, 6, and 9s. And a lot of people are going to get a lot of cognitive dissonance when it comes to saying that omega-3 and 6s are toxic. They're not good for the body. You don't want omega-3, 6s. Again, this is a similar thing to protein. Protein is toxic to you. It is the tissue or the fiber of an existing entity. You holistically need amino acids and glucose, and this is full within every single fruit out there. B12 is made in your digestive system, but the lower part of the gut. So where this B12 is a bacteria, but this bacteria has already passed the absorption chambers of the gut. It's a myth. It's all a myth. You are a fruit. You are I'm going to say the fruitarian. You are a fruitarian, and anything that bears a seed shall be for you, for meat. And meat is this. Nice to meet you. There is nothing. The body wants to meet the fruit. The fruit contains the negative charge. This allows the positive being to be able to become balanced and holistic, and to be able to reciprocate and to create new cells. Everything the body needs to create is inside this wonderful avatar. All you need to do is feed it fruit. Everything else is for your consciousness to get trapped in, for your body to experience pain. I got sent a chart today, a pH chart, and fruit was in the acidic side, in the moderately acidic, and everything on the alkalizing side was all greens and all these types of cabbage. And this is not true. If you were to eat a cabbage on its own, in one day you would find out what a cabbage does to the system, especially when you've been juicing or you've been eating fruit. It will bloat you. It will cause acidity. It will drop you. Your lymphatic system will start to express the toxicity. You'll feel lumps. You'll feel ill. You'll feel the start of a sore throat and these types of things. So do you have any questions about where to go from here? Because it's so vast. I'm sure that it's better to give you pointings and help you while you're here.
No, I think that was really fantastic. It's mostly like the detox and the trial and error, and staying positive and staying the course and not getting upset with myself. Like I had a little sauerkraut yesterday and a little quinoa. I was like, it's Sunday, you know, like it's so hard to get out of my own way with this. Like Sundays in my family were like these just ginormous things. Like, what about the culture of food? Like, I can't tell you the untangling that's happening in my mind and in my physical body based on removing food from my diet, like food. And so when I do add it, it tends to be very upsetting to my system. And so then I've got to recalibrate. And primarily, I really want to get rid of my tumor. Like that's a part of it. But I find that it's the fear. When the fear comes in, it gets acidic. When I think I need something other than fruit because I'm getting attached or plugged into like, I miss my family story, then there's that. So I guess my shorter question is like, how did food come to be? Like, what about food culture? Like, how do we detach from like going to restaurants? And I mean, it's fine. I haven't had a drink in many years. It's not that, but it's like, that's been a very, how do I live this 5D consciousness you know, and I'm really grateful. I'm in a great community. There's a lot of people like me around, but still there's that. And I a lot of anxiety around my family and them realizing like they own restaurants. Like my father cuts meat. Like I'm having that karma. So it's a lot happening for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, the culture in itself is a cult. You're a cult, and that means you're on a conscious de-evolution of following and taking you down the wide gate, because there's no true self-awareness. Everything that is there for you is for your growth, and as you progress with this food, the fruit is going to show you internally and externally, via the skin, via the body, via everything that's going on in your system, that what you're doing is right. Now, there's no point in meddling with the energies. It's raising your awareness. And to be around the energies that are keeping you suppressed, it's almost suppressing you via that sense. So utilize this and start to slowly take steps daily to progress, to be alignment with where you're seeing and projecting. You're healing. You're not going to get worse. There's no more disease within you. This is just a matter of time before you're free from any of these ailments. You're doing the right thing. There is nothing that's going to stop you. Even if you do a quinoa dish, it's because you were supposed to, and you were supposed to feel the pain that it caused you to be able to progress. Quinoa itself, if you think of quinoa, they're grains, yeah, and you're just eating millions of these little grains, and they have shells, and these shells can't be digested, and they cause so much inflammation. Quinoa is really toxic. You'd be better off eating a whole food, just like a potato, even a sweet potato or a squash, a pumpkin. And if you're really craving something, just use the white potato, make some fries, make some chips, it's okay. And then you'll feel, what this starch does to your system. Again, it keeps candida alive, but it doesn't thrive. You are exactly where you need to be. Trust yourself. These feelings that you get, they're your intuition. Just roll with life, let life lead the way, because you're being guided by a higher force, which is your true nature. Fruits serve you. They drop from a tree. They're intelligent, and they're there for you. Next stage of your evolution is to find a garden and grow, and that will give you more perception, more freedom, and more connection to the divine. But again, have no fear. If you need help, just send a message over, and we can speak to you on a day-to-day basis and guide you. But you don't need to worry. There's no need to fear. You're here now talking with us, and everything's bright. The orange juice, you could just drink orange juice all day, every day, and you're going to be fine. It's going to absolutely recharge your system and give you the alkaline. And the alkaline is the wor-k align, and K means balance. So the true balance is foods that are absorbed with your body in a negative charged way, which is all of the fruit. Every single fruit is going to fill you with light from the sun.
I know, I feel it. I'm telling you guys, I have never felt so like snugged into the divine in many, many ways, like for huge stretches of the day. And I'm so much more tuned in, so I can see the fear come, or if I feel a pang in my tumor and I start to go with it, I just send it love in a different way. I have some fruit. Thank you for all that. Would you recommend supplements still? One question.
It's a good question.
Green juice and orange juice, or because I've laid off the green and focused on fruit, like is it a combination?
To be fair, no. God give you the herbs for the healing. So again, we would utilize things every third day as coriander, to be able to juice a good handful of coriander, and this allows toxic heavy metals to be able to leave the body. And then on that third day, after you've added in some coriander, to be able to use activated carbon, activated charcoal, organic, and then a small a teaspoon of that and half a teaspoon of Epsom salt, the magnesium, and this helps draw any excess toxins along with the heavy metals. They can relieve the system every third day in one drink. Apart from that, just trust your fruit. There's nothing else that's going to serve you. Nothing else. The cannabis is great. If you can get on any type of cannabis oil, this is going to help the system align. The endocannabinoid system regulates every hormone function in your body, and it will just bring balance to every system so they work together. Apart from that, you truly are, you know, you're on the divine path. The fruit is for you, and the herbs will help aid healing. The chlorophyll inside the plants, it causes toxicity. You don't need too much of it. If you truly are on fruit and then you eat these plants, you'll feel what it does, and it's uncomfortable. The body doesn't want it. We helped a lady, well, we've been helping this lady, and she's been plant-based for 50 years, and her acidity was at 4.5 on the pH, and she couldn't fix it. She couldn't do anything, and she didn't know what to do. And 4 weeks on a plant-based plant-based diet, on our holistic truth eating, she's at 8.5. And she's 65, 60 to 65, and it's never been at that before. And I see joy, I see awareness, I see bliss, I see progression, I see connection to the divine, and I see happy entities. And it's all incorporated with a separation from source as well. And supplements, anything that you get from Babylon, stay away from. There's nothing that will serve you there. They show up in the bloodstream. They can be tested that you have more vitamins and minerals, but your body cannot absorb them. They are not bioavailable, and they cause liver toxicity, and they have to be flushed out your system, causing more acidity.
Wow. Yeah, that was a mind blow. Thank you for that. But yeah, because I've been, you know, a lot of those supplements you need to take with fat soluble things. And so if I'm not having fats, I stop taking them. And I didn't know if that was, you know, it's a whole process. But I will say this also with the cannabinoids. I do have an oil tincture, and I take maybe 1 or 2 drops a day. And it's at this point right now, like essential. Like, yeah. I'm like, today I'm not going to have any drops. I don't, but I feel like they really do help when you talk about hormone balance, just energy wise. I have 2 kids too. And so there's a lot happening, and I have found myself such a deeper lover on fruits and a little bit of cannabinoids without my supplements, not too much. Like I was drinking tons of celery juice. I just was like, I couldn't take it anymore. My stomach was like getting totally destroyed. But yeah, it's a lot.
A lot of people following these practitioners, they tend to focus on a main juice of grapes. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, candida's on grapes, and the candida's enter in the system, and then it's allowed to thrive, you know, and sometimes the sugar does turn into the alcohol, and it's not the best, you know. I would definitely give my hat to orange juice. Orange, or Ra, the sun in liquid form. It is an incredible thing to be able to have, and right now it's orange season in most places. So utilize that, heal yourself, and oranges stay on the tree for the rest of the season. So when you get to this resonance, and if you want healing, you'll be healed just by sitting in a garden full of oranges. No commerce, no Babylon, no work, no nothing. You just free yourself, connect with nature. And if I could recommend one thing, is when you rise, just take some time for yourself just before you do anything. Is just to sit still and be present, and to breathe, to take the breaths 4 deep seconds in, 8 seconds out, to be able to exhale all the dioxide, the carbon dioxide that's accumulated. And remember that carbohydrates hydrate carbon. You're a carbon physical body, and hydrate them.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Let me, Marie, let me jump in here for a sec, because Josh brought up so many incredible points. But for example, with orange and orange juice, it's all you need. There's nothing else. And eventually it's so filled with light that you'll get to a point where you don't even need it, because you've so conditioned yourself to light that you'll transition to air. And then you're just breathing in the ether. Colleen, on one of our shows, I think that was the election show, and Colleen was talking, they were talking about how important breathing is. And Colleen was saying, you know, you just need to know that what we are is the ether. And we're energy, and therefore we're magnetism, or we're electricity. And so God is the ether. God exists within the ether. So that when you breathe, always breathe with the the prevailing gnosis in your mind that you're breathing in God, that you're always breathing. So then Colleen said that when you know this, you start doing this when you breathe. I want to fill myself up with God. I just want to. And then you just do that for a few seconds and you are so high, man. It's like, whoa, man. I was like on the doobie, man. And I got so high, man. Exactly, because you got God into. God is high. You know, the ether is high. It's the Tiffany blue sky in heaven. And that's all you have to do, like Josh just said, is just passionately breathe God into. And if you breathe that way, and most people, what do most people do? We're just fearful, meek, and mild, so everybody just says this. And it's just shallow breathing, and all that toxicity that's in the air, it just stays inside of you. Why is the Buddha fat? Oh, the Buddha must love lamb and chicken and beef and all that stuff because he's a big belly boy. No, because he breathes passionately for God. Buddha says, I want the God within me, so I'm going to breathe through my diaphragm. Diaphragmatic breathing is life. God is the God of living. How do you want to get God in you? Breathe from your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is life. Not using your diaphragm is death. It's that simple. Everything is a choice in every moment. But they don't teach you the right way. And then when you go to study Buddhism, they teach you everything but diaphragmatic breathing because it's the way. It's the way to the middle way, you know, the middle path. And, you know, the Bible, all of these ancient scriptures are just profoundly teaching you the truth in plain sight, but we don't have the confidence to trust ourselves. So in the Old Testament, it talks about the sacred sacrament of incense, because incense is inner sense. If you're breathing incense in through the ether, then you're giving yourself inner sense, which is your common sense. And when God does a commercial in the Old Testament, he says, you know, listen, when I'm done saving the world every day and I need to kick back, I always put on my favorite inner sense, cannabosum. So when you need a good fix to relax, use cannabosum brand incense. Cannabosum is cannabis. Come on. Cannabosum is cannabis. It is the sacred sacrament of incense. And what does it say in the Bible about cannabosum? You light it and allow it to fill your temple all day, so that in the nighttime when you're outside looking at the stars, your head is filled with scents, because all day you've had cannabosum, the sweet smell of cannabosum in your temple. That's what it literally says in the Bible, that you burn the sweet cannabosum inside your temple so that you stay connected to the Father and you don't get distracted with all of these distractions out there. Holy cow. How nobody told me that? How come nobody ever taught me that? So I wanted to share that with you because it's so incredible. And
why you say that, Charlie?
Josh was talking about
the cannabis and the synchronicity with what you just said. The reason why the sex slaves weren't allowed to have cannabis, they could have every single other drug, is because it's non-conducive to mind control. And in this day and age, the sweet cane will allow yourself not to get involved in mind control. It will let you see through the fog. It's very, very important in this time, and it is a weapon for yourself to be able to build your temple up as Solomon did.
Wow, thank you so much.
Okay.
I think Charlie had more to say. Sorry.
Can I just interject one thing? Because this is so important, Aloise, and I'll make this as fast as I can. Canaanites are the left hemisphere of the brain, and that is the wrong path. That is the path that is broad and spacious and lead to disaster. The right path is to be Abel, and Abel was always known for carrying the rod. Josh just talked about it. And so it's very important to note the spelling of Cain. Cain is C-A-I-N, C-A-I, whereas sugar cane is C-A-N or C-A-N-N-A. So that is the right Cain. When you see all of these words that have canna in them, C-A, and cannabosum in the Bible is spelled with the K, which is even better because it's the alkalinity, it's the number 11, it's the pure balance, and it's the master number. But when you see the rod, when you see the presence of the rod, oh, you're in the presence of the truth, because that's rod 1, that's rod 2, and those are the 2 temples. And even the Freemasons will tell you, when you go past the twin pillars, the twin temples, everything that is behind must be the truth. That's why they don't allow non-initiates into a Freemason temple, because everything that's in a Freemason temple is the absolute truth. Right? And that's the Strait of Gibraltar. The Strait of Gibraltar, if anyone has ever seen this, the miraculousness of the Strait of Gibraltar, Africa and Europe merged together. You just have to see it to believe it. It's so incredible. And up and to the left, up from their perspective, the inner perspective, up and to the right, is the masculine, essentially representing the pineal gland, the Pingala. And then Africa, the mother, is the Ida, and a little bit lower and to the left. And then those are the twin towers of the twin temples and whatever. So that's the Mediterranean. That's why all human culture sort of built out in and around the Mediterranean, because that's like the third eye. The Mediterranean is the third eye that led to the Holy Land, that led to the other Holy Land, which is, Babylon and Persia. I mean, it's just, it's so amazing. It's so amazing, and it's so natural. I just want to leave everyone with this. We make up our own toothpaste, and in the show notes for this, I can give this to Aloise. But again, knowing thyself means that you know that you change during the seasons. Okay, so the seasons change. We have to change with the seasons. So what occurred in September is that this is the fall of man, and things are very, very different. And my body is so tapped into all of this that it's very, very, very sensitive to these changes. And so in late September, what we do with our toothpaste is exactly what Josh was talking about. We add in another element to it, which is the activated carbon, or what the activated charcoal. And the activated charcoal, because this is the descent of man. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just need to recognize this is the fall of man. We have to fall. We have to fall to the womb to have the incubation and then the rebirth of life. So it's all good, but you need to know we're falling. We're falling, and then we're more easily vulnerable right now. So the activated charcoal in the toothpaste is so, brush your tongue. And it's so important because like the Epsom salts, it's drawing out all toxins, any toxins. And this is the time of the year where your body is sort of like releasing massive amounts of toxins because in a sense, we're dying upon the cross. And then we have to rise to the spring, to the Passover. And one last thing that I'll just quickly add again, folks, the blood of the perfect lamb upon the brow. You don't kill a lamb and nail it to your forehead and let it drip blood down the bridge of your nose. It's an allegory. You need to awaken to the fact that this is an allegory. The blood of the perfect lamb is Jesus Christ. And so do you then nail Jesus to your cross? And where do you find him? Where's this guy hiding? I need to nail him to my forehead. No, be Jesus. The brow is the entrance to your home. This is you. This is your home. And so when it's the blood of the perfect lamb upon your brow, be Christ-like in your life, and everything will flow. And orange juice, I guarantee, an orange was originally spelled with an L at the end, because an orange is a golden angel, or angel is what orange juice is. It's a golden angel. And they took the L away to hide the whole truth from you.
How was that, Marie? Oh, now you've got to reiterate that all back to us.
Yeah, right. I need to sit with that for a moment. Just gorgeous. You people are amazing. I love it. I just so grateful for that dialogue. It's just an incredible journey, and so grateful to have this gnosis and to be able to live it and embody it finally in a way that I really was like, it's happening. And this was the piece that I was missing, and I'm so grateful. And now all the other things, the history, and I'm so excited about learning more and being able to serve more too. My people, I'm telling them, stop drinking coffee, guys. Like, get off the coffee. I know. I mean, I was addicted to coffee for my whole life. I mean, I still want to have a coffee. Like, I don't know. I know coffee is like, it's coffee pure evil. Just, it is real quick.
coffee is a plant that grows itself, and used in moderation, as long as it doesn't control you on a balanced way, you can ingest it if you consume it yourself and grow it yourself. But again, things are stimulants, and if they take over your being, it means you're not in control. So this is the fall of man, where they allow things to dominate their psyche. But once you're better, which is going to be very soon, then you can incorporate things that resonate with you. If you drink coffee and it makes you feel terrible, then I presume you wouldn't keep running into a brick wall. So you would know what's good for you. And this is what this whole cleaning out is going to do for you. You're going to become pure, and it's exactly what you'll feel. And anything that you put into your system that doesn't or isn't and shouldn't be there, you will know. Your senses will be there. You will become supernatural by becoming supernatural.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And what you said too, you'll choose it. Like, you'll know and you'll choose it. It's that's the conquering of the ego for me, is like, the voice might still say, but you'll still choose. No, I know this is what's good. I want to stay here because I love it so much and I treasure it so much that no matter what distraction comes through, that's what you're saying. It's supernatural. You just have such a power to clear the space around and to continue to choose from that place of love, of self.
Without doing this, you would never know, and you'd live off belief, and that's not where you want to be.
True.
No.
Beautiful.
You're doing amazing. Well done. I'm very, very happy for you.
I'm very happy to meet you guys.
Thank you brilliantly, Marie. Well done. That's fantastic. And how quickly, Josh, just before Marie dropped off, like, how quickly do you see the dis-ease in the body then heal? Like, what results can Marie expect to sort of see with her tumor?
For an example, people play with leukemia, usually 4 to 6 weeks, they get a pure, clean bit of health. Depends on people's level or severity of tumors and how big, but you'll find that you are not gaining anything anymore. There'll be no increase in size, and it'll just eventually just fall off. So usually 6 weeks you'll cure anything. You'll reverse any disease, because there's no real disease. 6 weeks, it's that simple. You just don't want to be supplementing, and all these machines that are put out there, it's technology, and the true technology, you can ask any technician, any corporation, if they can make a seed turn into a tree and drop fruit. It's impossible.
So keep us posted, please, Marie.
For sure. I hope to have some more space with the two of you, and Aloise too. Like, I would love a whole extravaganza. So please keep me in the loop of all of the awesomeness that you're up to. And this juice thing, you guys talked about it recently, a 20-day juice, beginning of December. I'm in. I want to play.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, you'll be able to feel more receptive to this alignment that's happening, and when you do this, you'll truly find that holy space within you. And it's only 20 days of juice, and if you can do the 3 days of water, that 72 hour is like a full cycle of energy, and that will truly replenish everything. And I guarantee by Christmas you can have a clean bit of health, and it's going to be a great time to be able to celebrate the celestial BR8.
Wow, beautiful. Yay.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
So much love. My heart is just so happy. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Bye for now. I'm in touch.
Yes. Love and light to you.
Wow, how incredible. What's so wonderful to see her healing, and she just was so vibrant as well. It's just amazing. But Josh, do you want to just tell Dita, because obviously everyone's going to be wanting to do that now, so it'd be great if you could tell us, like, how can our listeners, because if they want to do the juice fast, the 20-day juice fast, how would they find out more about it?
Well, we have Instagram that my partner puts all the information up on, and our channel Josh X. The Instagram is at .x.lfam, but the links will be in the description. And if you're willing to do something like this, you'll truly find the space of something that you may never have experienced just in a short time, and especially in the year of 2020, the true 2012. that we're going through right now, the alignment of energies, you will become clean and receptive, and you can truly receive the gifts of what's happening with this divine change in this wonderful electromagnetic spectrum that we call Earth, the inertial plane to inhabit consciousness with. And it's there for you.
How does it work? Are you going to kind of put everybody in a group together, or they want to go through it together?
I'm not really a tech man, so if there's anybody out there that might be able to help me with technology as such, because we do help people, you know, today we've done about 13 people and beginning protocols, and we're trying, you know, we're just helping as many people as we can, and we're trying not to leave anyone. I would like to create a platform where we can have people join, and then they can communicate to keep each other, how could I say it, encouraged, share the journey going through, and I can put up daily progress. So, you know, things like that I can do on Patreon, things like that I can do on Facebook. Not Facebook, I don't really use Facebook, to be honest. But with the YouTube I can, but it's not very interactive as such. So an app of something or a group, then that would be wonderful, that we can have everybody join. And you never know, we might be able to raise a few funds for continually helping people, try and raise some medicines for people that can't afford things, and to create this wonderful space at this holistic healing center with this food jungle that people can come and eat from and stay until they're completely restored and balanced.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about Mighty Networks, because I think that might fit your profile. But if anyone listening wants to get involved and help Josh with the tech, then by all means just pop details.
Wonderful. I at the moment, you know, my energy is spent on living the lifestyle, being what I'm preaching. Well, not preaching, reaching, and trying to get out there. So it's difficult for me to try and take on new challenges when the cup is already swirling with life force.
Well, that will be somebody's dharma that you just talked about there. So if that resonates with you, if that is something that really lights you up and you really want to be involved in an incredible community, then yeah, please reach out to Josh, because it just sounds incredible. You know, a group of people doing that together will be really rewarding. Its own community is where it's at.
Yeah. To be able to share is to care, and to be able to bring each other towards the light is what we need to do, and encouragement. That's key on this type. And you know, you will find a new space, I can guarantee that, within those 20 to 23 days. And you don't have to do it for as long as what we are. You can drop in and drop out and do intermittent fasting, and you still will raise your light. You will raise the bar, you will bar gain. It's very simple.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Thank you for all your gnosis and knowledge this evening. Absolutely amazing as ever. And Charlie, what's coming up for you?
I'm busy with the book that Josh and I are writing, and so all we're doing right now is just the live shows with both of you on Mondays, and then a live Q&A on Fridays, and that's it. And I'll do the odd update live on YouTube as well. And obviously all of our focus and attention right now is just to aid this process, because these are the most important moments that as a collective we've ever experienced in our history. So just doing the meditation, seeing the outcome, being the outcome, living the outcome of all of these things, and just once all of this begins to unveil itself, it doesn't require me at all. It's going to be this miraculous process of truth bomb after truth bomb being released day after day, and more of these demons being arrested, and you'll be able to follow it, and it'll take people on a journey. And like Aloise said, you know, for all of you listening, the greatest gift that you can give is to be the observer, and because the observer is sans judgment. And that's, you know, why Colleen and I, with our 18 cats, we observe them all the time, because the cat has 9 lives, and they have 9 lives because they do virtually everything right. You just have to watch and observe your cats. And by the way, you with your dogs, you need to love a dog is man's best friend, and you really love them, and you you hug them. Cats are a little standoffish, so you observe them. Dogs are very hands-on, so you get right in their face. And the whole point of the dog is to look in their eyes, and then you see the mirror image. And the mirror image of dog is God. And that's why they're man's best friend. And what they show us is unconditional love. They do not live in the past. They're not worried about the future. They're connected to you endlessly in love in the moment. And that's all we have to do. So learning from our animals instead of killing our animals is all part of this process to let you free. And let me end my section with this. What Josh said earlier is so important. The two things that you require with your food for now, two things. You need to be able to aid in the production of amino acids, and you need to ingest into you glucose. And if you have too much of it, don't worry, it stores it in your muscles where it's required in a form called glycogen. So let's take a look at those two words. Amino acids are friendly. Ami is friend, okay, from the Latin. An amino acid is a friendly acid. It is the building block of all life. So it's what allows you to be able to take whatever you ingest and put it into the form that you require. Here's the deal. When you ingest raw fruits, that's all that you need. That's all that you need. People say, well, I need to supplement. What do I need to supplement? I need to do. You don't. You may in the beginning, but once you dedicate yourself consistently to this, you don't need to add anything else. It's all your cells require to function at optimum performance is a raw fruit, because it gives you pure glucose, and that's all that you require. And there was a question, and I get it a lot with regard to people always sort of asking about, but I live in the far north and it's winter time here, and how am I supposed to grow an orange on a tree in the winter? Well, you know what? You do your best, and then you prepare for next year. See, that's what this is all about, is being in the now so that you're prepared for whatever comes. And so for the next year, there's all sorts of things that you can do. Remember, God is so aware of this. First off, you shouldn't live in the far north. If you want to, that's your choice. But if you live within the tropics, okay, if you live within the tropics, that's the single eye. Remember, we talked about the single eye, and that is the golden zone. And that's where you grow every single day of the year. That's probably better than freezing your noonies off for half of the year. Just a thought. But if you're going to stay there, God has already anticipated that. And so where do you put your foods to preserve, especially your fruits? Where do you put your fruits so that they will be preserved? Okay. In a root cellar. In a root cellar, and that's where the roots grow. And a root cellar is just the earth. So you're putting your fruits with the mother at the roots of the mother, and you just leave them there. And you know what? They stay fresh in January and February, and they start to get a little wrinkly in March and in April. But guess what? When they do, they become even sweeter. They're sweeter to the taste because all those starches are beginning to metabolize purely into sugars. And then it's less pulp and it's more pure sugar. So you see this process? God has thought this all out for you. So there's infinite ways that you can do this. And remember this, folks, the fruits and the vegetables of the fall are dying, because that's what the fall is. It's all part of the fall of man. So before we get to the resurrection in the spring, if you store these fruits and vegetables, they're perfect for you to consume. Your body changes during the course of the year, just like the seasons change. So when you are in Christ Mass, or when you are in this 6 months of the fall of man between the fall equinox and the spring equinox, which is the true new year, in that there is the eucatastrophe, the rising again. And all those fruits and vegetables that are born late in the fall. So think about it. What fruit grows on the trees in the fall of man? Like apples. Oh my gosh. all winter long, all early spring long. Eat your apples. And where do you keep your apples so that they stay beautiful? In your root cellar. The mother looks after them for you. You don't need to do much of anything. It doesn't cost you anything. Get a shovel, dig a hole down low, and then you just put all that stuff with the mother down in the root cellar. It's incredible. So it's just common sense, and then you're prepared for every eventuality by living in the now. So it's incredible.
Charlie, you are incredible.
Josh, and you
are incredible.
See, the roots, even the vegetables, people dig them up when they feel like they need to, but if you leave them in, they stay all year round, you know. And it's important to know that these things, and with the fruit itself, like the apples and even oranges, that the season is November all the way through till July, and these oranges can stay on the tree. So, you know, what Charlie just said is pinnacle, because if one can perceive that they're not in a position to eat the right food, then one should play the game of chess, which is consciousness, and move their self along the board game to be where they need to be in the coming seasons or the years that they will be walking into. So the awareness will carry you. You know, if you're perceiving it now, it's great, it's amazing, and it's wonderful to see that your thoughts are playing with you like this, and they will carry you forward. And this is what the ego mind's here to do as well, is playing with the true consciousness, to be able to find the truth and to find the self. And the self is all knowing, one with the divine, and the fruit is connected via the vine, and it will give you everything you need. And just follow life, let it guide you, because, you know, when you can perceive holistically, you'll see that everything is exactly as it should be.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, make space, make room. We're all moving to Portugal and Mexico. So we better hope you've got some space there for us all.
28 degrees today.
Thank you, both of you gentlemen. It's an honor and a pleasure as ever to serve with you this evening. Really, really incredible. Like the wisdom, the gnosis, and the simplicity of it. So I really hope everybody's enjoyed themselves. Please let us know in the comments. If you've got questions, please send them to support@aloise.life. For next week, again, if you want to come on the show and ask a question, then again, just email me and let me know. But yeah, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you both this evening. Thank you.
And right back at you. Thank you very much for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we are all one.